Guess what? Robert De Niro is playing a gangster again. Not just one gangster, but two. You get two Robert De Niros for the price of one in the Alto Knights, a movie that you probably had no idea was coming out, even though it's a big mobster movie starring Robert De Niro, directed by Barry Levinson. Written by Nicholas Pileggi.
Nicholas Pileggi, who wrote Goodfellas, right? So you would think, oh, well, this, don't dial those expectations way down.
Where do I start? You're going down a very dangerous road. And we ain't been down dangerous roads before.
Robert De Niro plays Frank Costello, who is our narrator, and boy, does he narrate. So much narration from two different locations to camera, which is never explained. But anyway, he came up on the mean streets of New York with his best friend, Vito Genovese, and the two of them, were bootleggers during Prohibition, and everything was going their way. And then Vito kills a couple of people and has to run to Europe until the heat dies down, and World War II happens, so he's stuck there for a while. So Frank has taken over and is running the stuff, which Vito assumes he's going to claim when he gets back. But while Vito is gone, Frank cozies up to the cops and the politicians and is like, paying off the right people so that, business can continue unabated. And he's sort of a semi-public figure, and maybe, he's a gambler. And then Vito comes back and expects that he's going to have it handed to him and wants to start getting into drugs, which, as we know from, Godfather and Goodfellas, is when the good times end. And so, then they come into conflict and there's a bit of a mob war, and how will it all end? And we have seen this movie before so many times. And the thing about a movie like Goodfellas is that it is a brilliant character study. It's an examination about power structures in 20th century American society. It's a lot of things. And this movie is just kind of a rote recitation of facts. This happened and this happened and this happened. I so missed Thelma Schoonmaker pausing and telling me who everybody is in the nightclub, what their nickname is. I even missed in The Irishman, how did they die? Anything. This one, you get a room full of gentlemen over the age of 60, and we don't know who they are. We don't know what their relationships are, who's boss, their names, nothing. And so it just feels like it's kind of going through the motions and giving you, the big cars and the
jewels and the furs,
the jewels and the furs, exactly. Like all of Debra Messing's outfits. One cool thing that I will give this movie is that the mob pretty much ran all of New York's gay bars between at least the end of World War II and Stonewall. And that almost is never talked about in movies about the mob. You hear about it in queer films, but this movie actually shows you how Kathrine Narducci's character, who winds up marrying Vito, runs this queer bar. And I was like, oh, okay. Thank you for including that, Alto Knights, because that is a part of, the history that you're covering in this movie.
I had no idea. I'd never heard of that before. That was cool. Yeah.
So but apart from that, it's like, we got to do they literally do a thing where there's a big mob hit that is preceded by a bunch of cross-cutting, and you're like, really, movie? We saw this almost 60 years ago in The Godfather, and you're still trotting it out like it's this new exciting thing, or 50 plus, you know what I mean?
But that was the best part of the movie. The tension that built within the cross-cutting was wordless. At least Robert De Niro is not talking during that part of the movie, right?
No,
not narrating it to us.
The narration is way too much. I did like the scene where Vito, Robert De Niro, is scolding Cosmo Jarvis about doing a hit wrong. That was fun. There's a moment where there's a big mob conclave, basically, and the cops show up and everybody's running to their cars, and this one guy is running holding a crystal goblet with a full shrimp cocktail in it. And I don't know, that just made me laugh. That was like a little eccentric moments like that are what make a movie like Goodfellas stick in the memory, and this one has far too few of them.
Yeah, there's a bit where Frank has to take his wife's little lap dogs out for a walk in Central Park. And somebody has made little bitty mink coats for the dogs. And so he has to go down the elevator and across the street to Central Park and like walk them in these ridiculous little fur coats and like sit there on the bench talking to some other mobster with the little dogs in the fur coat. So yeah, like that was a funny little idiosyncratic moment in a movie that ultimately feels so stale, so staid and safe and repetitive. Like it's the same kind of series of conversations over and over again about how you can't take this guy out. He's a made man. There's a code. We'd have anarchy otherwise. And
you can't be half a gangster, you know?
Yeah. So I don't understand the gimmick of having De Niro play both parts. What is the purpose of that?
No idea. Like it's not like they're twins. It's not like, you know, Theo James, sorry, and the monkey. Like
or Mickey 17.
Or Mickey 17, exactly. Or the upcoming whatever that Michael B. Jordan movie that we're getting in a few weeks. Oh, by the way, Sinners, Alto Knights, Mickey 17. These are the three big Warner Brothers movies of the spring, and they're all about duplicating their leading men. Go write a thesis. I don't know what that means. But yeah, there's no reason for it. It's like Mike Myers deciding, you know what, I'm going to be all the characters because no one's as funny as me. You know,
I'm all the clumps.
I'm all the clumps. Yes, exactly. That doesn't mean anything in terms of like the interpretation of the thing. It's not like they're a yin and yang or opposite sides of a coin. It's just De Niro. And the thing is, the characters aren't so different that it's really a stretch for him. It's like, which glasses and which nose is he wearing? And that's how we know which one he is, you know?
Yeah, Robert De Niro is the clumps. I want this movie now. I want Baz Luhrmann's Snow White, and I want Robert De Niro as the clumps.
Oh, God, you have all the good ideas.
I do think they're going for something profound, though. I do think, this is my theory, is that they're trying to say something profound about, like, the duality of man, and these are two sides of the same coin, and, like, one of them, like, kind of wants to go on the straight and narrow and do things the right way, and the other one is the wild card, and he's volatile.
Yeah,
and
but you'd get that even if Joe Pesci were playing Vito.
Yeah. And Joe Pesci should have played Vito. That would make a whole lot more sense, right? Yeah. Although the effects, when they are sitting there, like there's a scene where they're at a candy store, they're having a little meeting, like they're sitting side by side at a table. Yeah. The effects are really seamless. They are well done. I'll give them that.
If you ever wanted to see the scene from Heat where De Niro is playing both characters,
we can do that now. And I just wonder, you know, everybody involved with this has made some kind of other better gangster movie. And so they're doing themselves
produced this thing, you know.
Yeah. They're doing themselves no favors by trotting out what is so familiar. Like there's no life to it. Nothing startling about it. It never like declares its purpose. Like why tell this story now in this way? And there's a couple different scenes, as you say, where De Niro is just sitting in a chair, like going through a slide projector of moments of his life and then telling us about them. Yeah, like that is how like simple it is, and like hitting over the head with like, oh, things were better back then.
And it's not like, you know, in The Irishman, there's a pathetic quality to his narration because he's alone in this old folks home and forgotten, and his family won't go see him, and he's talking to nobody. And this one, I kept waiting. Is there like going to be an unveiling at the end of who he's talking to? There is not. And again, like sometimes he's in a park and sometimes he's in an office, and it's like, but he's talking to the camera.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. And Levinson even made Bugsy, you know, like he's not completely at sea here. It's been a while since Barry Levinson made a movie that is among Barry Levinson's best movies, but like you'd think he would bring a little more to the table here.
Yeah, I am baffled by this movie's very existence. So anyway, I'm going to say, oh gosh, like a 3.5. And that is mostly for just like production values and costume design.
I guess I was feeling kinder. I give it a 5 down the middle just because like it, you know, I mean, yeah, Dante Spinotti is giving you Gordon Willis, but he's giving it to you beautifully. So, you know, why not?
Lush butter. Anyway, Alto Knights is a movie that prior to us talking about it, you probably had never heard of, and now you don't need to go see it. So you're welcome.